Tim Ryan, and my district is in Youngstown, Ohio, to Akron, Ohio. We started this manufacturing caucus about 10 years ago with Congressman Manzullo and I to highlight issues that are relevant to older industrial districts or people in districts with a lot of manufacturing. And we've seen a decline in manufacturing, and we think there are opportunities for us where we can advocate in a bipartisan way, as Congressman Manzullo and I did. And now that Congressman Manzullo is gone, we were searching for a Republican co-chair of this committee, and we were able to land Congressman Reed, who's from upstate New York. He was the former mayor of the town of Corning, and about 11,000 people. About 11,000 people. So he's a mayor, so he brings some, I think, some local government perspective to this, but also big on manufacturing, defense supply chain, all of the things that are important. So I'm really excited. We had a really nice chat yesterday, and I think we're going to have a really great working relationship here with the House Manufacturing Caucus and do the kind of things beneath the radar if we can, but sometimes on the radar screen of really pushing things that are important too. And we're also co-chairs of the Natural Gas Caucus, and I think when you look at what's going on in western New York, in Pennsylvania, in Ohio with natural gas, there's huge opportunities, not just in those sectors, but also to spruce up manufacturing and really give manufacturing a shot in the arm. So I'd like to welcome the Congressman and kick it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Congressman Ryan. Tim, it's been great getting to know you over the last few days and last few weeks in preparation for our first manufacturing caucus hearing presentation. I'm excited to be part of this, and I look forward to working with you, and I think we're going to have some exciting times and very informative times as we use the manufacturing caucus to what you and I have both indicated, a bipartisan basis to come together to try to identify and produce and present evidence and information that's going to advance manufacturing in the United States of America. I'm glad today to have some folks join us from Cummins Incorporated, which is a company in our district, well, a company across the world, but has a facility in our district, National Association of Manufacturers, and the National Additive Manufacturing Innovation Institute for coming today on this initial Manufacturing 101 kickoff event. I'm excited about the opportunities for United States manufacturing. I'm very interested in hearing from this caucus in the arena and the different areas in which we can create a competitive environment in America that's going to get us making things here on our soil once again. As I sit on the Ways and Means Committee, very interested in input on the tax code, what we need to do in order to reform that tax code, the development of that comprehensive energy policy. Natural gas is an exciting component to me of that comprehensive energy policy that to me is going to be a real opportunity for United States manufacturing going forward. So I just welcome everybody here, and I'm just eager to be part of this. And I know Don Manzullo did a lot of work, and we have some big shoes to fill, but under your leadership, Tim, I'm sure we're going to do just fine. So I look forward to it. I will note that we do have some great technology that the staff's put together for the caucus. We got it on our website, but it's read.house.gov, the Manufacturing Caucus, facebook.com, House Manufacturing Caucus, and Twitter. So we're using all social media outlets, plus the artwork, to advance the cause today. So that's going to be great. I guess my first task this morning is to introduce Eric Newhouse of NAM. I think NAM, National Association of Manufacturing, doesn't need a lengthy introduction as to what the organization is, but Eric, we're proud to have you here as Senior Vice President of Policy and Government Relations for NAM. I know that you have a great insight, and as the National Association of Manufacturers represent such a diverse, large, small, medium manufacturers across America, I welcome you here and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much. It's one of those intros where I should just not say anything and just hand it off. Thank you all for the opportunity to spend some time with you. It's a real pleasure and honor to be with you both, and thank you for your willingness to serve in this role. You know, obviously someone that works with manufacturers on a daily basis, we have uniquely passionate view on the importance of this issue, and it's a pleasure to have you in these roles, and we look forward to working with you even more closely than we have. Let me just begin with a very quick, again, kind of the Admiral Stockdale moment of who am I and why am I here. So the first comment I'll make is we represent 12,000 manufacturers, and it's everything from literally a sausage factory with 20 people in northern Kentucky to some of the largest companies in the world. And that diversity of membership really gives us the ability to, I think, be a strong voice on behalf of manufacturing. In a very kind of short and sweet way, what we're facing is, on a daily basis, a 20% cost disadvantage with our international competition. So those are policies that, not coming out of Beijing, not coming out of Brussels, policies coming out of Washington make it 20% more difficult for domestic manufacturers to compete internationally. And that's something that really drives us. And that 20% is really driven by energy costs, healthcare costs, tort costs, regulatory costs, healthcare costs. And the good news is we've seen a slight uptick in our competitiveness on the energy cost side. A lot of the issues that the two of you mentioned on the natural gas space has given us a leg up for the first time. Our view is we really need to run up the score because that little bit of benefit has to offset, again, a 20% disadvantage. So again, every day manufacturers wake up, they're in a hole. And our job, and what we're hopeful to work with you all on, is making that hole a little bit smaller on a day-to-day basis. What we've done, and again, I know there's documents that were on the desk outside, let me just kind of bring your attention to this document. It takes our entire broad policy agenda and boils it down into 4 very simple goals to get to that 20%. First goal is make the United States the best place in the world to manufacture. That gets into all kinds of content under it, and I'm happy to get into that in the Q&A. Second goal, put the United States in a position to take advantage of the 95% of the world's consumers that are outside of our borders. Really that international trade agenda. We were founded basically on the tenets of international trade in 1895 in Cincinnati, Ohio. The third goal, make sure that we've got the workforce we need to meet the needs of the 21st century. And lastly, a goal on innovation, which gets to R&D, basic science and research, and really making sure that manufacturers have the ability to have the seed corn they need now to be able to put products in place down the road to continue to compete and thrive. So again, happy to answer any questions, look forward to the give and take. I would just say, again, kind of a final comment, Manufacturing Caucus has been a real ally for us and a real asset for us. It's been a great relationship. And it's something that, again, we look forward to working with you all on in the future. And again, thank you for the opportunity to spend some time with you today.
Thanks so much.
I have first I want to welcome, before I introduce Ralph, I want to welcome a great business person and leader back in Youngstown, Mike Garvey, who's the president and CEO of M7 Technologies, which is a huge part of what Ralph Resnick's going to talk about. But Mike took an old family business and spruced it up in a very, very big way, and it's part of manufacturing renaissance that's happening in Youngstown, Ohio. And I've got the great honor of introducing Mr. Ralph Resnick, who joined the National Center for Defense Manufacturing and Machining in September of 2008 as a Vice President, Chief Technology Officer, Director of Corporate Development. He's got more than 30 years of experience in manufacturing, and he became the President and Executive Director in May of 2011. We put together a proposal for this NAMI Institute that is from the Tech Belt region, which goes from Cleveland, Akron, Youngstown, and Northeast Ohio down to Pittsburgh and all the way over to Penn State in PA. And Ralph has been the driving force. I tease him and say he's our thoroughbred for the renaissance of Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania. He helped organize and helped us win the competition for the National Additive Manufacturing Innovation Institute, NAMI, the contract in August 2012. He is assumed the position as acting director at NAMI, and this has since been formalized. It's a great public-private partnership, and it's exciting to see such a talented person be so involved in the renaissance of manufacturing. So, proud to introduce you, Ralph. So, Ralph Resnick.
Thank you, Congressman. Those were very kind words. Hope I can live up to them.
Yeah, don't let me down.
I won't. But Congressman Ryan, Congressman Reed, thank you for inviting me here to speak. It's refreshing and encouraging to see such an extensive bipartisan group dedicated to advancing and growing the nationally important area of domestic manufacturing. The industrial base, especially that supports the defense manufacturing, needs your leadership and support as we collectively work to raise our competitiveness and assure our national security in an increasingly aggressive global environment. I'm pleased to appear before you to discuss the importance of two key elements of advanced manufacturing: innovation and infrastructure, and what we are doing to affect both. A comment from a recent NAM report, The Innovation Imperative in Manufacturing, How the United States Can Restore Its Edge, stated that nothing is more important than innovation. The moment we stop innovating, we die. And a recent report from ITIF stated that innovation may be a hot buzzword right now, but it is also an established tool for making manufacturers more competitive. With U.S. manufacturing still sluggish overall, the firms that are most competitive are those who find new and upgraded products and processes through innovation. Manufacturing research and development is literally the core of an innovation machine that this nation's economic engine is founded upon. Specifically, 70% of industrial R&D is performed by manufacturing-based companies. This R&D results in the application of new technologies, new materials, and overall increased productivity within the manufacturing processes. All of these advances can make U.S. manufacturing more competitive within the global market, but only if the results of the R&D stay in the U.S. and add to the GDP for a significant period. Put simply, if R&D stays within the U.S., it represents an investment. If it goes offshore, it represents a cost, and the nation gains little benefit from the R&D. It is heartening that Congress seems to recognize this significance, and I applaud you for recently not only extending, but refreshing the R&D tax credit. This is a noteworthy step, but there is more that can be done. We are all aware of manufacturing competition from China, and we are constantly reminded of the disparity of the labor costs between China and the U.S. Yet for some manufacturers, low wage costs are becoming less important because labor represents only a small part of the overall cost of making and selling their products. Independent analysts have found that a 2010 iPad priced at $499 contained $150 worth of materials and parts from American, Japanese, South Korean, and European suppliers. The researchers estimated that the total worldwide labor cost for the iPad at $33, and China's share was just $8. If China accounts for such a small share of the overall labor cost, surely Apple can afford to make iPads in America, and it's looking at that. Because it turns out that low wages are not the only attraction. What the Shenzhen area has to offer is 30 years experience of producing electronics. It has a network of firms with sophisticated supply chains, multiple design and engineering skills, intimate knowledge of their production processes, and the willingness to leap into action if asked to scale up production. What Shenzhen provides, in other words, is a successful industrial cluster, a manufacturing infrastructure that provides the transition of innovation through manufactured products. Successful manufacturing infrastructure includes ready access and intimate engagement with academic researchers, small and large technology developers and builders, material suppliers, parts makers, and an educated and well-trained workforce. Turning to national security, the Defense Department has a single program that is chartered under USC Title 10 to develop and transition manufacturing processes and fabrication required for the production and support of defense systems. The DoD Manufacturing Technology Program, MANTEC. For over 50 years, the MANTEC program has been the department's investment mechanism for staying at the forefront of defense essential manufacturing capabilities, many of which also have been spun off to feed much of the U.S. commercial technology advances, including semiconductors, composites, turbine engines, and machine tools. Benefits are not limited to technology discovery, but include substantial cost savings. My organization, NCDMM, has been supporting the ManTech program for over 10 years. NCDMM organizes and manages teams of technology providers working collaboratively to address specific DoD manufacturing opportunities with the inherent goal of efficiently transitioning a solution. Our portfolio of projects has included machining, assembly, automation, inspection, sustainability, and enterprise supply chain management. With our on-demand industry alliance partner network and our small organic staff, we have been able to record over $500 million in savings and cost avoidance for a variety of the services on numerous weapon systems. On March 9, 2012, President Obama announced a new $1 billion proposal for the National Network for Manufacturing Innovation to catalyze up to 15 manufacturing innovation institutes around the country. These public-private partnerships will serve as regional hubs of manufacturing excellence, which will help to make our manufacturers more competitive and encourage investment in the United States. To jumpstart this effort, the President also announced a federal investment to establish a pilot institute using existing authorities in 5 federal agencies, committing $45 million in initial funding. The 5 agencies agreed to focus on a manufacturing technology that has shown promise to affect each of their missions and systems. The technology area chosen, additive manufacturing or 3D printing, has the potential to significantly impact, some even claim revolutionize, present ways and even the business of making products. Through the use of computer-driven lasers, extruders, or inkjet printers, parts are constructed layer by layer, essentially grown from a variety of materials. Due to its direct connection to a computer-generated model and AM's construction methods, design freedom is drastically enhanced. Geometries, including internal structures, previously imagined but not producible, are now possible. New advanced materials from metals, polymers, ceramics, even electronics are being explored. Organizations like GE Aviation, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing are already incorporating AM products, parts into their products. Custom medical implants and prostheses made possible through AM are enriching lives, and tissue engineering using 3D printing techniques is a growing research area. With expanding interest in expiring patents, the cost of simple 3D printers has plummeted, opening insertion opportunities in STEM education and into the homes of a burgeoning maker movement. These are groups and individuals of do-it-yourself manufacturing entrepreneurs utilizing low-cost desktop manufacturing equipment, such as 3D printers and laser cutters, to develop new products and complete new markets. This is a significant shift towards a democratization, personalization of manufacturing, akin to the shift that took place in the 80s and 90s with the move towards personal computing. Last Christmas, low-cost 3D printers were one of the hottest selling gifts. But there is a substantial gap between a dream and a reality. And if AM is truly to be accepted by mainstream manufacturing, there are significant issues that need to be addressed, including fundamentally understood and repeatable processes, qualified material properties, and certifiable end products. In other words, there is still a lot of work to be done. On May 9, 2012, the federal government issued a solicitation for proposals from teams led by nonprofit organizations or universities to establish a national additive manufacturing institute, which would serve as a proof of concept prototype institute. The multi-agency partnership led by DoD provided an initial $30 million in federal funding to launch this new institute. In response to the solicitation, NCDMM partnered with organizations from the Ohio-Pennsylvania Tech-Del Initiative to develop a proposal for NAMI. A number of years ago, the Tech-Del Initiative began as a regional conversation between Congressman Ryan and Congressman Altmaier about developing a strategy to reinvigorate the Cleveland to Pittsburgh corridor and surrounding region. In a tribute to an extreme interest in additive manufacturing coupled with the dedication of the Tech-Del team, in 6 weeks, we were not only able to put together a comprehensive proposal based on the NCDMM organizational model, but also gathered over 130 letters of support and $40 million of cost share commitment from organizations throughout the region and around the country. And this included not only companies, but the MEPs throughout the states, numerous small businesses, community colleges, and the states of Ohio and Pennsylvania. On August 16th, the NCDMM-led Tech Del team was awarded the NAMI contract after an intense competition with a number of other highly qualified teams. In the past 5 months, we have been very busy coordinating our efforts toward building a self-sustaining organization and establishing an innovative additive manufacturing infrastructure. Within 36 working days from project announcement, we renovated a 12,000 square foot abandoned furniture warehouse in downtown Youngstown, Ohio, into a modern design and manufacturing lab as the NAMI hub. We equipped the facility with over $2 million of additive manufacturing and ancillary equipment, all entrusted to NAMI by consortium members. We established a public-private governance structure and comprehensive operating procedure to guide our efforts in collaboration with the partners. We opened up membership in NAMI to organizations across the country, including those we compete against. We received, based on our evolving industry-driven technical plan, we initiated a call for proposals to address key challenge areas. Last Friday, we received 40 proposals in response to that initial project call. We will be reviewing those proposals in February and make awards first part of March. Additive manufacturing is distributed with pockets of innovation and excellent research development happening in many universities and multi-sector industries across the nation. Although NAMI was established as a regional initiative to benefit from the proximity, relationships, common culture, established infrastructure, and technology clusters, the intention all along has been to not only build upon this regional cluster, but also to reach out and assimilate the nation's widespread innovations into a coherent national additive manufacturing infrastructure. AM is but one promising manufacturing technology and NAMI one example, albeit in its formation stages, of how innovation and establishment of an effective manufacturing infrastructure can impact our national manufacturing revitalization and economic recovery. I encourage you to carefully study the National Network for Innovation Institute proposal and consider its potential to further develop both NAMI and other promising manufacturing technologies. Chairman Ryan, Chairman Reed, I'm honored to have had this opportunity to provide you a perspective on the importance of developing innovation and infrastructure to increase U.S. manufacturing sector competitiveness. We need the Manufacturing Caucus guidance and leadership to help address the challenges and break down the barriers to quickly transition our innovations into economic reality. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Ralph. And before I had the pleasure to introduce Emily Foster from Cummins, I do want to recognize a few members, two that were here. G.T. Thompson, co-chairs the Natural Gas Caucus, and also I think I saw Gene Green come in, who's also part of the Natural Gas Caucus. And then I have two of my colleagues on the Republican side of the aisle, Chris Collins from New York, and Andy Barr from Kentucky joining us today. I thank you, gentlemen, for coming and showing support for United States manufacturing. Now, without further ado, I have the pleasure of introducing Emily Foster, Director of Government Relations for Cummins Incorporated. As I said, New York 23rd's Congressional District is full of diverse frontline manufacturers of all sizes, large and small. We have companies like Corning Incorporated in my hometown, GW List, Kennedy Valve, Nucor, Primet, and now, of course, Cummins. Cummins has a facility located in Chautauqua County, which is in my district. Worldwide, Cummins employs about 17,000 people. Actually, United States, 17,000 employees. And 1,400 of them are located right in our district, and I appreciate Cummins' investment in that facility. Emily is here today to share with us her frontline information from Cummins' perspective as to what we can be doing in regards to making a competitive manufacturing environment in the United States of America. So Emily, thank you very much for joining us, and I turn the table to you.
Thank you so much, Congressman Reed. Good morning, representatives and staff. My name is Emily Foster, and I work for Cummins. Before I get started, first I'd like to thank Chairman Reed and Chairman Ryan for bringing us together today to discuss American manufacturing. which we feel is the lifeblood of the economy and actually does impact every community. I'd also like to thank all of you all for being here today, too, to hear us speak and talk about issues that are important to manufacturers. And for those of you that aren't familiar, I work for Cummins. Cummins is a diesel and natural gas engine manufacturer. We make our engines on everything from the Dodge Ram pickup to large mining equipment that's almost as big as this room, as if you can imagine that, including marine and rail. We also make power generation equipment that provides backup power for hospitals, data centers, even the Statue of Liberty. I'm going to limit my remarks to 3 key areas in the interest of time. I'm going to focus on issues related to the debt and deficit, international trade, and also critical infrastructure. Well, recently, some of the pressure, the immediate pressure on the debt has been taken off with the 3-month extension of the debt ceiling. I want to carry my perspective as a company that hears from our senior executives on a regular basis about the impact that debate around the debt ceiling and debt and deficit issues is having on our company. We're finding that the uncertainty is really driving our customers to hesitate on making those capital purchases. In fact, to illustrate this, in 2011, we actually had a record year for Cummins. We actually had $18 billion in sales, and we were very pleased about that. So 2012, going into the year, we were pretty excited, and we actually initially forecasted a higher amount. Unfortunately, we had to actually go back mid-year and downgrade that forecast, because what we found is that the continued uncertainty and the multiple fiscal cliffs, if you will, were posing a drag on the economy. And so our customers were telling us that they just weren't sure what was going to happen, what Washington was going to do. And so orders that we thought were going to come through just didn't pan out. And so I really want to take advantage of this opportunity to share with you kind of what we're hearing, from what I'm hearing from my CEO and our customers, that we hope that folks here in Washington can come together for a bipartisan and timely and long-term deal to deal with the debt and deficit. Also, I wanted to talk about international trade. Cummins, actually, for the last 10 years, we have sold more products outside the U.S. than we sell inside the U.S. We operate in 190 countries, and we export. We have manufacturing facilities in those countries, and we also export product to outside the U.S. In fact, in Jamestown, New York, where our plant is, we export to Australia and elsewhere around the world. In North Carolina, we make natural gas engines that we export to China. In Minnesota, we make power generators that get exported to Brazil. So having good international trade policies are really important to our success as an American manufacturer. While we also do manufacture some overseas, but I think it's important to note that most of the manufacturing we do overseas is for use in those countries. It's used for local consumption. Being an engine manufacturer, we have to adhere to local emissions regulations and things like that. So it's really important that we manufacture in product to meet those standards and also to meet the market needs. But according to the Business Roundtable, actually 95% of the world's population is actually outside the U.S., and that's 80% of the world's purchasing power. So it actually does help us to sell our products in those markets. But at Cummins, we realize that you can't just look at trade policy in a vacuum. You have to look at it in a more holistic point of view. You have to consider workforce development and even innovation as part of that. And for workforce development, we realize we need to give our workers here the tools that they can compete in the global economy. Cummins, we work as part of a partnership with local schools, local universities, our union, and public officials in areas where we operate to promote aligning the skills that are being taught in schools with the skills that we need for the future. And so we actually have one of those partnerships, which we call Echo 15 in Southern Indiana, where we're headquartered, where the goal of the program is to rise everyone up one level in training and also in education. And so we use that program as a way to make sure that our schools are really preparing the students for the needs that we're going to have for tomorrow. Innovation is also a critical part of trade policy. When we go into those markets, we have to innovate in order to meet those market needs. Every market is very different, and we have to approach it differently. And so our engineers will often travel to those markets, kind of understand how our products are actually being used, and then go back to our technical center in Columbus, Indiana, and then come up with a product that's going to be competitive and do well in those markets. In addition, Cummins, working actually with EPA, we have now developed, and the U.S. now has the cleanest diesel engines in the world. So we, because of the strict requirements, emissions requirements, we actually have those jobs, those important R&D jobs here in Columbus, Indiana, where our tech center is. And now that we've developed that technology where our engines today are near zero emissions standards, we export that technology all over the world, and we're now using that to improve the environment in other countries as well. So trade can have benefits not just here, but also overseas, and also improving the environment. Further, what we found is that having operations or having sales outside the U.S. helps to reduce geographic cyclicality. So during the worst of the recession in 2008, 2009, and 2010, we were still able to add jobs here in the U.S. Not because we were selling in the U.S., because the market at the time was very bad, but because of the strength of our sales in countries such as China, India, Brazil, and elsewhere. So that allows us to have a steady stream of revenue, if you will, that we can constantly innovate, and so that doesn't have to suffer. Finally, it's also, open markets are also important to global supply chains. In Jamestown, actually, we have over 300 global suppliers that helps us to develop actually over 4,000 different engine configurations. In fact, our 1,400 employees in Jamestown actually produce 100,000 engines a year, which speaks to the efficiency of that incredible workforce. And so having access to those global supply chains really does allow us to produce what we think is world-class product, and make sure that Cummins is competitive and does well. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about critical infrastructure. With Hurricane Sandy, we've learned that natural disasters can easily can compromise our critical infrastructure, and there can be significant damage as a result. And so we would like, in addition to thinking of repairing roads and bridges and things like that, we think maintaining a reliable electric grid is also critically important. So that hospitals and gas stations and military installations and precincts all were able to continue having power when a natural disaster strikes. And so Cummins, through our expertise with our power generation, we just want to be part of that conversation to help find a way to mitigate risk. And we think that's an area that there can be bipartisan support for. I'd like to end my comments by again thanking you for your support of the manufacturing industry. This caucus historically has enjoyed broad bipartisan support. I'm encouraged by all the folks here in this room, and I do think that there are a lot of opportunities where we can come together and push policies that are good for the manufacturing sector and thus good for the overall economy. When I was preparing for this, for my remarks, I actually came across an interesting quote that I thought was somewhat relevant. And it's from Henry Ford, who I think you guys are familiar with. And he said, "What's right about America is that although we have a mess of problems, We have great capacity, intellect, and resources to do something about them. And I really do believe that the folks in this room have that capacity to do something about that. And Cummins, we look forward to partnering with you all to help achieve those goals. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Great, thank you, Emily. We're going to open it up for any questions that you may have for this panel. So think about it, because I have a question I'd like to ask Ralph. I see a lot of videos on YouTube that my staff sends me about three-dimensional printing and the potential from today to 10 years into the future. Can you give us some sense of how quickly this is moving and what are the realistic expectations for three-dimensional printing? I guess the one I remember is it was maybe a TED Talk of someone building a house, printing a house with a huge, obviously, printer. So can you just touch upon that?
Right, and that specific work you're talking about was started by Professor Koshniewicz in the University of Southern California, who was looking to build structures for people that primarily for where there had been catastrophes that would occur, and how could we rapidly construct homes. And he's proven that there are some viable areas where that can be applied. But again, still a lot of work to be done to make it realized. We've seen a lot of hype. Number one, additive manufacturing or 3D printing did not originate 2 years ago. It's been originated in the labs of MIT and other places in the late 80s. So it's been around a while, and it's been going through an evolution of process improvements, material improvements, and so on. But it's caught fire in the last several years because, I said, the prices of printers have come down because of patents that have expired. And so there's this extreme interest now in this maker movement, people wanting to make their own things, and democratizing manufacturing and so on. So there is a lot of hype going on. Some of it is well justified because there are some interesting things that can be made. But being able to make viable products, just like hobbyists were using computers back in the 80s, and turning that into viable product that the public could use and that could easily be transitioned is really where the rubber meets the road. And that's where NAMI is focused. We're looking to leverage the maker movement, leverage the inertia that's being built, and I think we're going to continue to see that. The other thing that's exciting about this is that kids pick up on it quickly. So they think in 3D, they can design in 3D, and they can now make things in 3D. So I think it can not only revitalize manufacturing, but it can revitalize our educational system, can revitalize the interest in manufacturing, which we have to really instill in the public once again. So manufacturing is not dark, dirty, and dangerous, but it can be exciting, and I think we have a good chance of making that happen, which makes everything else happen.
Mind if I ask a question? Yeah. Essentially, I have two questions, maybe for Eric and for Emily. One, what is the greatest opportunity that you see for United States manufacturing, and what is the greatest threat to that opportunity or to United States manufacturing? I guess you want to go first, Emily? Is that okay?
Thanks for putting me on that stage.
Yeah, there you go.
The greatest opportunity. I think the greatest opportunity, is really our workforce, I think is the greatest opportunity, and giving them the skills that they need in order to compete. I think what we've found is a lot of Caucus is not unique, where we build partnerships in the community in order to better align the skill sets with the skills that we need as employers. And so what I think is that Cummins is really trying to address that skills gap through these innovative partnerships where we actually pull everybody in, and we're having academia speak with industry in a way that they hadn't previously. And so because we realize we can't just wait for things to happen. And our employees in Jamestown, the fact that when we first started that plant in 1974, we produced 10,000 engines from 74 to 85. And yet now we're producing about 250,000 engines in the same time frame. So using our workers and the increased efficiencies that we have there through them and through our team-based approach, I think that it continued to, I still think America is one of the great places to do manufacturing. And so that's why a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, when we looked to locate our worldwide headquarters for our high horsepower engines, which is the mining equipment engines, we looked all over the world, and we decided to actually put it in Seymour, Indiana, because we still think that America's one of the best places to start a manufacturing plant. And now we've invested more than $200 million in that plant, and like I said, we're taking these engines and we're exporting all over the world. As far as threats, I do worry about trade, which is one of the reasons why I included it in my remarks. Because I think there's still some misunderstanding about trade, and in America we don't have enough people here to just continue to grow. If we want to grow and hire new people, we really need to be going after those consumers that are outside our borders. Protectionist policies actually harm our ability to do that. And when we put in protectionist policies here in place, and what happens is our trading partners also do similar policies, which then ends up being very difficult for anyone to do business outside of the country's borders. So I think that is where we have concerns, and so we realize that we can't be here talking to just you, that we also have to be talking to our employees as well. That's part of our responsibility as employers, is that we have to tell our employees in Indiana how trade is actually benefiting them. Because it is very much something, a partnership, and finding trade policies that are fair and that allow American manufacturers to compete in those markets is really critical.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I would just, on the opportunities question, what comes immediately to mind for me is the energy space. Manufacturers, depends on the year, we use as a sector between 30 and 33% of the total energy generated in the country. So you just think about that, any kind of effort, be it natural gas, wind, solar, nuclear, just go through the list of opportunities to grow the amount of energy that's feeding into the supply grid has lower price pressure. So you think about a manufacturer in Akron and Youngstown in New York that is, paying 4 cents per kilowatt hour. In some industries, their power cost could be 40-50% of their total output costs. So 4 cents per kilowatt hour becoming 2 cents per kilowatt hour has a tremendous competitive advantage for that company. Conversely, 4 cents per kilowatt hour becoming 8-10 cents per kilowatt hour becomes a real competitive threat, if not a threat so existential that a company potentially has to look at shutting down or relocating. So the energy opportunity is very much an opportunity. And again, because of the technologies we've identified over the last several years in the natural gas space and others, this is, again, a really potentially game changer. The threat, I would say, is much more, kind of 30 or 40,000 foot in nature, which I think is more of a cultural threat, which is this kind of trend, and it was mentioned before, a belief that manufacturing is what people think it was in 1952, of, metal being poured with sparks flying all over the place, and, guys are about to get fried by, okay, that's not what this is anymore. So the idea moving forward of getting to a place where parents, teachers, communities say, a future of manufacturing is a future of middle class, good, solid, long-term employment with robust benefits. The sector really, again, you think about kind of the healthcare benefits alone, the average manufacturer is paying in the neighborhood of $12,500 in healthcare benefits per employee. The total compensation for a manufacturing sector versus other sectors is about $9,000 more than other sectors. And that was about $74,000 in 2009 numbers. So that's a good, solid middle class lifestyle. And my fear is, and again, we're hearing this time and again from companies, they're looking to hire people. They can't find people that are interested. If they do find people that are interested, they can't pass the drug test. If they pass the drug test, they can't pass a basic literacy test. So the idea of, again, that kind of cultural focus of manufacturing as a good thing, as something that bright, well-educated people that have the skill sets necessary to go into manufacturing for a long-term middle-class career, we've got to get back to that place. And again, there's a lot of different pieces to get there. It's a really big idea, but I think that's one of the biggest threats.
Great. Go ahead. I guess we'll go here.
So I had a question, sort of dovetailing on.
You can just say your name and who you're with or who you
Sure.
are. Or...
Sarah Christopherson, and I'm with Representative Nikki Songas from Massachusetts. But some of Mr. Newhouse's comments made me think, because first of all, I'm preface this by saying, recognize that there's a huge value to domestic manufacturing in its own right. But one of the reasons the policymakers like my boss have been really interested in it is that it has been associated with good middle-class jobs. When we sort of from the outside look at how manufacturing jobs are coming back to the States, it seems to be they come back at much lower paying levels than sort of that 50s era. We associated that maybe with metal and sparks, but we also associated with that with, like you said, sort of great benefits, great income. From the outside, maybe you can correct me and tell me that sort of our views, not ours and my boss, but the sort of view that we hear in the press is wrong. But the jobs that are coming back are paying more closely to service sector jobs than to what we used to think of as manufacturing jobs. Is that an accurate impression? Is it an inaccurate impression? What is the sort of your average voc tech guy? He's not going to get a master's degree in engineering, but he wants a solid middle class job. Are there places in manufacturing for that still?
Yeah, and
Sorry for the long question.
no, it's okay. Good question. So a couple different pieces that on threads kind of to the question. We've seen a lot of our companies say to us, we made a decision to co-locate our manufacturing facilities overseas to be closer to our markets. We thought it was the right thing to do. We were committed to it. And in many cases, it was successful. But we've also had companies say to us, as it was a good decision then, but we misread the intellectual property rights issues, we misread the supply chain challenges, we misread the market. So we decided to bring back manufacturing from country X to the United States. And again, so it's this kind of resurgence, this onshoring trend that people are beginning to talk about, which is exciting because again, the idea of, again, our goal is making the United States the best place in the world to manufacture. It's a good thing, again, so more manufacturing jobs, more productivity, more capacity here is inherently a good thing. But I also, again, I don't want to kind of send a mixed message here in the sense of companies are going to continue to locate manufacturing facilities where they have to. And if the market demands them to locate a manufacturing facility overseas, they're going to do that. But again, you've seen this onshoring trend again for a lot of reasons. Getting to your question. So again, I would just point to that number. $74,000 is the average manufacturing compensation in 2009. To get to that kind of number, yeah, you've got your mechanical engineers and your, those guys making what they make. You've also got a lot of guys making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. We've got in our sector about 12 million employees. It's down from 18 million in 2001. You think about where we were in the beginning of the Great Recession in 2008, 2009. We lost 2.3 million manufacturing jobs from 2.3 million manufacturing jobs between late 2008 and the end of the Great Recession. the resurgence we've seen in manufacturing as a sector has been bringing jobs back quicker than other sectors, but we're still down 1.8 million manufacturing jobs from where we were at the end of 2008. So we've seen some positive trends, the onshoring movement, some other kind of rebuilding of capacity domestically, but we're still down 1.8 million manufacturing jobs in the last 4.5 years. That troubling kind of long-term trend continues to very much be there. So this is, again, kind of a rambling response. It touches a lot of issues. But again, you hit on a really key idea here. How do you get to a place where manufacturing in the country is a career, a lifestyle, a family kind of choice? How do we create an environment that encourages manufacturing to grow and prosper here? And how do we get demand in the economy to a place where manufacturers are looking at building capacity? Because what they found is over the last several years, and I don't know if Emily wants to touch on this, but a lot of companies have said productivity gains are so high, productivity gains going at 4, 6, 8% a year, I'm able to really ratchet up production with existing employment base. I don't need to hire that extra person. So instead of doing so, I'm going to continue to raise the amount of output out of the manufacturing community, which is what's happened. We as a sector, manufacturing output has continually risen. But at the same time, manufacturing employment has continually dipped. We're still the largest source of manufactured goods in the world, still to this day. But the trend line is not as steep as we'd like it to be, and the converse kind of downward trend is on the employment, which again is getting into that productivity and capacity building. So again, a long answer. I hope it was helpful.
I can actually speak from Cummins' perspective. From our perspective, we provide competitive pay and benefits no matter where we operate. And that may vary depending on where that operation exists. The important thing for us is that our pay and benefits are comparable with the area. It is highly competitive out there to get highly qualified workers. And so that dictates a lot of ways what the pay is going to be in that area where we're operating. We are proud to say we still offer very generous benefits. In fact, we still have a defined benefit pension plan, which not many folks do. And so a lot of that is, and we still have a match on our 401k. And so, but we think it's important to have that kind of balance of risk and what we call actually shared responsibility. And shared responsibility is that it's up to Cummins to provide benefits and pay that will allow you to earn and live a decent living, but it's also up to the employee to also have some role in saving for their future. We also incorporated that into our health care plan. We have a cost-sharing mix that we think does encourage our employees to take advantage of wellness programs, to take advantage of smoking cessation programs. But it's important, those benefits are the same benefits. Our unions, our employees, our top executives all get the same benefits. And so what it comes down to for us, like I said, is that we want the best workforce possible. We want the most talented folks. And so coming up with this compensation package to allow our employees to be happy is really important. Regarding your specific question about whether we're bringing jobs back, thus far we have not done a lot of that because we're trying to find the right mix based on where the sales are. But like I said, it really is important to us to have a competitive mix that really promotes that shared responsibility for the company to provide good benefits, but also for the employees to take care of their health and wellness.
Question? Anybody else? Ralph, one of the issues with the 3D, the whole additive manufacturing piece. Okay.
I'm going to excuse myself. Thank you very much to the panel. Thank you all for coming out today. Great first.
Thanks. Thank you. A lot of people are concerned that the additive manufacturing and the 3D printing is going to put a lot of people out of work. And we talked a little bit about this last night, but you just talk about how this is going to revolutionize and make things a lot more efficient in so many ways and decentralize and democratize manufacturing and how that could be a boom for the economy as well. Touch upon that.
So I think it's a function of change. Mike pointed out last night that kids used to pump gas, and it wasn't self-serving. But at the same time, we didn't have cell phone salesmen. So as we create new areas of opportunity, or as technology creates new areas of opportunity, and innovation creates new areas of opportunity, we have to be at the forefront of that opportunity. And if we are not leading that charge, if we are not participating fully, then we're going to lose that large portion of wealth creation that comes with these new innovations. So, although it may appear just like robots, and contrary to what they said on 60 Minutes, that robots are killing jobs. In one way, they are taking away those less demeaning jobs and those more cumbersome and more dangerous jobs, and creating higher productivity, more market growth, which in turn creates more jobs. So although it may not be at the same rate that we have seen in the past, it is still creating those opportunities, and if we are not engaged, we will not be at the table.
I'm going to just keep going here, so if anybody wants to jump in. This whole framing of manufacturing, is there any, through NAM, and I know we're doing a lot of work with the schools locally to try to change the perception of manufacturing to not be 1950s. We remember that well, and have pictures on our walls of the soot coming out and 20,000 people walking out of Sheet and Tube in Youngstown when the whistle blew. And so it is deeply, deeply ingrained in our psyche that that is what it is. And so are you guys doing anything through NAM to help create this broader or newer idea of what this is, and basically trying to make manufacturing look sexier than people think it is?
I use a
I
different
just
goal.
wanted to use this as an opportunity to say sexy.
Yeah, so I'm going to actively steer away from that comment.
Okay.
We have an affiliated 501c, and help me, Rick, 501c3, the Manufacturing Institute, that is co-located at the NAM, a separate board of directors, but very much ingrained into what we do on a day-to-day basis. And the Manufacturing Institute's sole goal was getting to exactly this. And it's really working with community colleges, local business leaders. And you may have heard Dream It, Do It has been around a while. This is kind of something that was launched in the early 90s, and it was really a manufacturing branding effort that was started by the Manufacturing Institute. That was the kernel of what they've done, and it's turned into a much more robust, real skill certification program. So the idea is the manufacturing community works with local, really more times than not, community colleges, and says, this is what we need in Youngstown. When we're looking to hire somebody, this is the skill set we're looking to bring on. And that then turns into a curriculum at the local community college. So when the company is looking to hire somebody, there's been this certification program. So what it really is getting to is, when you find somebody that you can hire in the manufacturing sector, usually you're on a 3, 6, 9 month training cycle. So you've got the initial kind of hiring costs that are out of pocket for the company. You've got the initial healthcare costs, other benefits, all that goes with hiring an employee. Then you're putting 3, 6, 9 months of training into the employee to begin to get a return on your investment. What the idea is, the skills certification program says to the employer, I know that this employee can do this job. I know that that 9-month ramp-up period, it may be as short as 9 hours or 9 days, which makes it much more attractive for the manufacturer to say, look, I'm willing to bring on new employees because I know they can do the job, and I know that I'm going to get, again, return very quickly. this has been, manufacturing, America Works Act has been kind of the backbone kind of legislative structure that's been thrown around on the House side and Senate side that would encourage this. So basically, it's using existing WIA dollars in order to funnel money into this skills certification program. I understand the bill is being introduced today in a bipartisan way, something that we're strongly supportive of. And again, it gets to this kind of on-the-ground, local level, ability to turn things around. The other thing we're doing, and I know Cummins has been involved with this, and it's more kind of a one-off period, companies will work with their local school districts, and they'll come into and have, conversations with teachers and superintendents and curriculum development people as they kind of, think through their agenda and what they're thinking about. So the other thing that we have been active with, the caucus was very active on this last year as well, was the Manufacturing Day, which was in early October. A lot of manufacturers opened their doors to students and teachers to come in and just kind of see what manufacturing is in 2012 and 2013. The idea being, let's show people it's not steel being poured, that it's a different environment.
Cummins is also doing a lot in that area to promote high-quality manufacturing jobs. We're trying to, through apprentice programs and going into the schools early and speaking with students and saying a four-year, postgraduate education may not be for you. You can actually have a high-quality, good career in manufacturing with maybe a 2-year advanced manufacturing degree or vocational training or things like that, and really getting them into our plant so they can see firsthand just how much manufacturing has changed, and hearing from our employees through mentorship programs and things like that. So we're constantly working through NAM, through the Dream It Do It program, through the Manufacturing Institute, as well as on our own, in promoting just how far manufacturing has come.
Yeah. Those are robotics programs in the schools are changed the whole mentality for these kids and really gets them excited about, and they're partnering with local companies, locally in Delphi and others. So it begins to change the whole idea and makes it a little more fun.
Could I just ask, which bill did you mention was being introduced?
America Works, do you have a bill number yet?
We don't. It's Congressman Barletta and Schneider are introducing it, and last year it was Klass and Donnelly. And I think both Ryan and Manzullo had co-sponsored that bill last year as well.
Well, I want to thank my staff, Ryan, Scott, and Laura from Congressman Reed's staff for helping us put this great panel together, and Art and Ralph and Emily, thank you so much. And we'll keep it rolling, but we appreciate you taking the time to come here, and thanks to all the staff that participated. Thank you.
Thanks.
Meeting adjourned.